Hello everybody and welcome back to episode 7 of our Skyrim Let's Play. Now last time we came back to Jorvaskr and Whiterun only to find Kodlak murdered. Kodlak, the leader of the companions, murdered by the Silver Hand. And so we ended last time's episode basically with a pledge that we made along with the other members of the companions to remove Hircine's curse from Kodlak, even though he's already gone. Now, as we learned, it was basically a curse from a couple of witches that made the companions into werewolves. And what that means is that, of course, they get the abilities of a werewolf, but that they must serve Hircine throughout their entire immortal existence after they die in the afterlife. Kodlak didn't want that. He wanted to go to Sovngarde like a true Nord. And so, even though he's dead, he's gone, we're trying to save his immortal soul. That is the quest we're on right now. We need to head to Winterhold. We're going to take the carriage.
Need a ride? Where do you want to go?
Because it is the most direct way to get where we need to go.
Back and we'll be off.
Now, we're not entirely sure how we're going to save Kodlak's immortal soul. We have the heads of one of these witches. We also have Wuthrad, the very important weapon of the companions, very important to companions' history. It has recently been reforged by Jurland, perhaps the best blacksmith in all of Skyrim, or at least we've been told. So it seems that we have the tools to achieve this goal, and we have the people. We just need to do it.
And you'd have me do what?
This is our first time in Winterhold, by the way. This might be a bit of a look at what we'll be doing in the future. We have the Mages College right over there. We'll probably be heading there at some point. Though, like I've said before, I think after we finish the companions, we should move on to the main questline for a little bit. But given that we are partially a magic-wielding character, we'll certainly be doing the Mages College at some time or another. Here we are in the icy tundra, sort of northern, northeastern Skyrim, where, you know, most of this city literally fell off a cliff. There's some interesting stuff that we might learn when we do the College of Winterhold questline, but that's still in the future. Right now, we are a devoted companion on a quest to save Kodlak's immortal soul. This is what he wanted, and as Farkas and Vilkas said, you know, even if we don't think it's bad to be a werewolf, and our character doesn't, if you don't want to be a werewolf and you don't want to serve Hircine for all of eternity, hey, then you shouldn't have to. Not to mention Kodlak, of course, he was the harbinger of the companions, the sort of unofficial leader of the organization. You know, the companions would say they had no leader, but let's be honest, Kodlak was the unofficial leader of the organization. He sort of called the shots. Though, as we saw, a lot of stuff sort of happened under his nose. Not necessarily stuff he didn't know about. I mean, he was aware that Uz and Aela were on this revenge mission for Skjor. He didn't authorize it, right? So it's not like we need to go to him for permission, but he did know what was happening the whole time. There we go. I was looking for the shrine. Another random shrine of Talos. Might as well activate it. Some alchemy components. Out in the middle of nowhere. Oh my, the saber cat. I'm telling you, there are a lot of pretty strong wildlife around here. Oh. Who is that? Like, who is that random... Oh my goodness, it's gonna catch me. Can the kitty swim? No, it can't. We're almost there. I don't want to fight this thing. The saber cats are some of the toughest wild enemies you're gonna find in this game. Let's just run right to our destination. Panting as I run, trying to escape the saber cat. There we go. Ysgramor's tomb. Ysgramor, of course, an important figure to the history of the Companions and, honestly, Skyrim as a whole. You hear about him a lot. Hey, and here we are.
This is the resting place of Ysgramor and its most trusted generals. You should be cautious.
Of course, it's Skyrim, so we still have the battle music playing, even though we are very much out of battle at this point. Okay, there we go. It's fading out. Why do we need to be cautious?
The original companions, their finest warriors, rest with Ysgramor. You'll have to prove yourselves to them.
Fair,
It's
fair.
not that you're intruding. I'd wager they've actually expected us. They just want to be sure that you're worthy. Be ready for an honorable battle.
I kind of like that. You know, it's not that we're intruding, they're letting us in. But they want to make sure we're worth our mettle, and so they're going to fight us. Vilkas, are you not coming?
Kodlak was right. I let vengeance rule my heart.
Yeah, you were pretty pissed off.
I regret nothing of what we did at Driftshade. But I can't go any further with my mind fogged or my heart grieved.
I mean, it would be better to have you with us, but I understand your reticence. You know, at Driftshade, we were on a quest to recover the fragments of Wuthrad, but let's be honest, it was also a revenge mission, and Vilkas doesn't want to let that happen again, so I can respect that. How do we get inside?
Return Wuthrad to Ysgramor. It should open the way.
Alright, fantastic.
Until
I
next
mean,
time.
I certainly was going to wield it. I don't have good two-handed skill. Thank you. Can I have the coin purse? Alrighty. So, Aela and Farkas, and Vilkas will, guard the chamber. Let's get going. Remember, everybody, save your game. Goddamn skeevers. What a way to start. They are everywhere. Oh, there we go. First enemies. How tough are y'all? Well, you two weren't tough, but that may not be the rule for the rest of you. Hello, ghosties. The warriors of Ysgramor. Certainly adequate foes in our quest to save Kodlak's immortal soul. That's what I keep saying. It sounds a little Christian when I put it like that. But I mean it in a Nord sort of way. We want to save his immortal soul by setting him to Sovngarde. Not by, you know, securing the love of Jesus or anything. And that is not the context we are talking about here. You're a little tougher. Oh, I just tried to use a shout. I did not have any shouts equipped. Very nice. Gotta remember to summon our Flame Atronach. Get our conjuration skill up. Also, you know, look at her. She's doing work. Very nice, Farkas. I mean, we've got the whole freaking squad here. Well, the squad that remains. You know, Vilkas is at the beginning of the chamber, so he's not here. Skewer's dead for a while now, so he's not here. And Kodlak is dead, so he's not here. Though I don't get the impression that Kodlak was the sort of guy doing field work at this point. I feel like he sort of, you know, moved past that. He was more doing some of the high-level decision-making at the Companions. Some frostbite spiders. Annoying little things with their poison and all that. I wish I had my shout right now. There we go. That's just so satisfying just to take him out like that. Where do the other two go?
I can't go any further, Shield Brother.
Like I said, I played this game before, so I was wondering, damn, I think I missed the dialogue with Farkas. Farkas, what's the matter?
Ever since Dustman's cairn, the big crawly ones have been too much for me. Everyone has his weakness, and this one is mine. I'm not proud, but I will stay back with Vilkas. Give my regards to Ysgramor.
Yeah, I mean, really? That one's a little less noble than Vilkas. You know, I kind of respect what Vilkas did. You're just saying you're scared of spiders. And that it's recently developed arachnophobia? Man, I don't think you can develop arachnophobia that quickly. I know some people with arachnophobia, and it is lifelong. Though, I mean, I guess maybe if you have to deal with giant spiders for the first time, you might get frightened. I guess I'm just surprised that he's never dealt with giant spiders before. In Skyrim? Man, these things are everywhere. Getting close to death a couple times. I'm feeling like our character's a little squishy at the moment. Maybe we need to work on our smithing. I mean, we've got everything up to superior level, but could boost our smithing up again and get the next level of armor. I don't remember what's after Dwarven. Is it, Orcish, maybe? We can check that afterwards. We're in the middle of a damn fight. And I missed. You're one of the tougher ones. As we've talked about before, there are sort of two classes of normal enemies, whether you're talking about bandits, silver hands, these ghosts. There's ones that are weak, and by that I mean sort of 2 to 3 hits, and there are those that take a lot more hits. And remember, by the way, if y'all have forgotten, we're playing on expert difficulty. Not for any particular reason. I feel no pride playing on expert. Skyrim's not that kind of game. It just means that the enemies take a lot more hits to get through. But that's why they take so many hits to get through, because we're on a high difficulty. And why I take so much damage. Pathetic mortal. I thought this was going to be an honorable battle. You don't need to insult me. I'm also about to die. See, this is why some of y'all have recommended... Jesus, this guy's doing work. Ayla, hey, could you, you know, maybe do something for once? What are you doing? You're gonna let me die here. That doesn't seem very companion-like. But some of you have suggested offloading my potions to Lydia, but this is why I keep them on me, because you never know when you're gonna need those things. Come on now. Come on now. Classic Skyrim combat, just mash the attack button until your enemy dies. And we've got a level up to use. Let's put that into health. I think we could definitely use a little bit more health. Now we could put that point into conjuration. We are actually quite close to some very good restoration perks. We need 40 for respite, which is one of the best. Or a good one. Really one of the best is recovery. That is an excellent perk point, because it's so broadly applicable. We'll want enchantments eventually. Let me check smithing now, we have a chance. What is next? Orcish, and that's 50. We still have a bit to go. No heavy armor. We could put it into block. Oh, maybe... You know what? I think one hand is the best place to put this perk point. Until we get that next restoration perk point. Then we'll put it into that. And then after that, I think we should aim for smithing. Because I think we should get some better armor. This dwarven armor is starting to fail us a little bit. We're taking a lot of damage here. Alright, let's go, everybody. Come on, Flame Atronach, do your thing. We're very fire-oriented at this point. With our, you know, Flame Atronach, And the one shot we use is fire breath. Holy moly. I forgot that it exploded. Nice. Kill cam. Always the most satisfying thing in Skyrim. Potion of Magicka. I will take it. And, you know, I think we might be leveling our restoration up to 30 pretty soon with all the healing we're doing. Here we go. Save everybody. It's worth it. And there he is. There's the main man, Kodlak. Hello, my friend.
Greetings, shield brother.
Kodlak, is that you?
Of course. My fellow harbingers and I have been warming ourselves here, trying to evade hearsay.
Oh, wow, you're all here. I didn't remember that part. But there's nobody else here.
You see only me because your heart knows only me as the companion's leader.
That's a nice detail.
I'd wager old Vignar could see half a dozen of my predecessors. And I see them all. The ones in Sovngarde, the ones trapped
Wow.
with me in Hearsay's realm. And they all see you. You've brought honor to the name of the companions. We won't.
Hey, look at that.
it.
Recognized for our work. You know, it's interesting. Kodlak told us that it was basically one guy that made the decision to take on this curse. But it seems like all the other Harbingers are not pleased about this. All the rest of them want to go to Sovngarde. So it's kind of messed up that one person makes this decision and everybody afterwards is basically cursed. Though, we're about to change that ideally. So Kodlak, Vilkas said you can still be cured, even after death.
Did he now? I can only hope. You still have the witches' heads? Excellent.
Yep.
Throw one of them into the fire. It will release their magic. For me, at least.
I have all of their heads. There we go.
For Kodlak, huh?
Kodlak's wolf spirit. We're doing an exorcism, basically. Oh, great. That's such a scam. We can start attacking before the thing is, you know, out of him. Guess you gotta take every advantage you can get, eh? Take that. Kodlak, let me heal first. Gotta get that restoration experience. Kodlak, you are no longer wolf, my friend.
Greetings, shield brother.
Now, greetings. We've killed your beast spirit.
And so slain the beast inside of me.
Yep.
I thank you for this gift. The other Harbingers remain trapped by hearsay. Perhaps from Sovngarde, the heroes of old can join me in their rescue. The harrowing of the hunting grounds. It would be a battle of such triumph.
It would be.
And perhaps someday you'll join us in that battle.
Well, I mean, I'm not a Nord,
Today, return
so I don't know if I can.
triumph in your victory. And lead the companions to further glory.
Will do, sir. And there he goes.
Did I hear right? Did he say you were to lead the companions?
He did indeed, though I think it may have been more metaphorical.
You've earned the right. Your
Oh,
strength
okay.
and honor are apparent to all. And it's my honor to be first to address you as Harbinger.
There you go. That's my
Let's go
appointment to
tell
the
the
position. That was easy enough. Oh, and we got a good shield here, don't we? I'm just remembering that. Unfortunately, we couldn't save the other Harbingers, but we did manage to save Kodlak's soul. Now he wants to wage war against Hircine's hunting grounds from Sovngarde, which is kind of a cool thing to happen. Two realms of the afterlife waging war against each other. Though you think that the other Harbingers already in Sovngarde might have done that. I don't know, maybe not. Shield of Ysgramor. Oh, fantastic. Fantastic. Oh, and a great enchantment. Oh, that's great. And it's a higher armor. So this is probably one of the better shields in the game. As we can see, magic resistance increased by 20% and increases your health by 20 points. Now, there is one shield that some of you will be familiar with. That is both a shield and a ward. I'll leave it at that. But we'll probably be getting that down the line, because that is truly, well, it's at least the coolest shield in the game. And it's my favorite shield. Probably the best, I don't know. I don't necessarily judge by stats. But the Shield of Ysgramor is very much a good shield to have. But yeah, we've saved Kodlak's soul. How about that? Now we can sort of talk about... Oh, wow. Yeah, I guess we'll do that. Which is the way out of here? I'm completely lost. I say we go back to Jorvaskr, talk to the leaders of the companions a little bit, see if they have anything to say about us being, you know, the new Harbinger. I guess Ayala can take our side on that. But I will, to prepare for what's coming, highlight our next main quest. That's right, we're finally moving on to the Greybeards. We've left them waiting for a while, but after we head back to Jorvaskr, we're going to set out from Whiterun to Ivarstead, and then to the Greybeards themselves. But we can talk about the companions as a whole. We're done the quest line. What are my thoughts on the companions? I think it's an alright quest line, you know? I think it's good. Not excellent. I've already talked about some of my issues with it. Like with the whole werewolves thing. I do like that it's not just like, oh, y'all are werewolves. It's cool, you know? The entire quest line revolves around you removing this curse from Kodlak because he doesn't want it. So I like that element, but then it makes it even more baffling to me that they don't include an option for you not to become a werewolf, right? Considering that Kodlak is opposed to the practice, at least for himself, to me it really feels like when you reach that point in the story, there should be a branching path, where you can either become a werewolf and keep going down that path, or refuse, and maybe you side with Kodlak and you work towards abolishing the practice, or maybe, you know, you personally just don't want to. I don't know. Maybe it's something about how you feel like the companions have been tainted by this curse. I don't know. It could be anything. It just seems odd to me that they don't give you that option. You're forced to just go down this one route. So I've talked about that before. That's something I kind of have a problem with. And then in this ending, we sort of touch on an issue or perhaps a trope.
My favorite drinking buddy.
Really? We've never spoken before. A trope that we see in basically all of Skyrim's quest lines. It's faction quests. In fact, take out the basically. It's a trope we see in every single one of Skyrim's faction quest lines, which is you become the leader. It happens in all of them. You join the faction, and you very quickly rise up the ranks and become the leader in sometimes very odd ways. Now, from faction to faction, it makes more sense in some than others. In this case, I'm not quite sure. I mean, first off, Harbinger is sort of an unofficial position. So, it feels like it should be more of a unanimous thing, where everybody agrees on who it should be. Instead of, we save Kodlak, and then he gives us this rather vague statement about leading the companions, which Ayala immediately interprets as, he's appointing us as the next Harbinger, and there you go. We have the position. Not that it really means anything, but I guess Bethesda feels like in order for us to feel satisfied with the ending of this questline, we must be made the leader by the end of it. And I'm just not sure that's true. No one else is actually here, so I'm thinking maybe if we give it a couple of hours, Vilkas, Farkas, and Ayala might be back. And like I said, they do this with all the other faction quest lines. We probably won't do Thieves Guilds or the Dark Brotherhood in this playthrough. We will do the College of Winterhold, so I won't talk about that one, because we'll experience it firsthand, but, you know, it's the same thing with those two. Though I honestly think it... I think the, you know, you become the leader trope is done the least service in the companions in the College of Winterhold. The two quest lines we're doing in this playthrough. I think it doesn't work super well for those two. And I think it kind of I mean, for the Thieves Guild, and this is just for those that know, I'm not going to explain the whole thing, but of course it would make a little more sense if Brynjolf was given the position of leader instead of us. And then for the Dark Brotherhood, I think that's where it makes the most sense, because of our position as the listener. I'm okay with that. It's still sort of this chosen one narrative in some ways, But, I mean, you know, it does fit with us being the leader of the faction. For the College of Winterhold, I don't think it works at all, which we'll see. And for the companions, I think it's okay. Yeah. So, and I often compare these to the other Elder Scrolls games, mainly Oblivion, because I've played a bit of Morrowind, but my experience with Morrowind is far less than Skyrim and Oblivion. That's one of the reasons why we're going to be doing a Morrowind playthrough on this channel at some point, because it really will be mostly a blind playthrough, you know? I really haven't played too much Morrowind, so I'd be excited to play it, most of it for the first time along with you guys. So I don't have much commentary on the faction questlines in Morrowind, but I do have them on Oblivion. And I was never a big Fighters Guild guy in Oblivion, but I think they did a pretty good job with it. I think Oblivion's sort of known for having particularly good faction questlines, and I think that's fair. You know, their Dark Brotherhood questline is really good. It's probably their best. I think their Thieves Guild questline is good. Yeah, I think they do a very good job with that kind of stuff. Versus Skyrim, it's more of a mixed bag, you know? I think some of the questlines are done quite well. They're done justice. Some of them not so much. I feel it would be fair to say, though Skyrim is certainly an overall better game than Oblivion, absolutely, that's, I think, rather indisputable. You know, maybe Oblivion is personally your favorite. You may have a personal preference for Oblivion. I think it'd be difficult to argue that Oblivion is an overall better game than Skyrim. But there are some things that Oblivion did better. Like the factional quest lines, like the ability to craft spells, you know, more creativity with the magic, stuff like that. Stuff that Skyrim did a bad job of, or just dropped, in some cases. So yeah, you know, that's the Companion's questline. I'd be curious to hear what you guys think of it down below. Basically, I'm rather ambivalent, to sum it up in one word. If I have to give it a rating out of 10, not that, you know, that is the premier way of covering everything, but to simplify it, I might give it like a 6 out of 10. Maybe a 6.5. I think it's above average, certainly. But not fantastic or excellent or anything like that. That's basically where I would place it. So I'm curious to hear y'all's thoughts down below, your perspective on the companions. And once again, remember, and I've said this time and time again, this is the perspective of a very seasoned Skyrim player, right? I mean, I'm not saying that to, like, toot my own horn or anything. I don't think that's really an impressive achievement. It may represent a waste of time more than anything, to be honest with you. But this comes from someone who's extremely familiar with this game, has played countless hours of Skyrim. I really know the game like the back of my hand. Though, as we're seeing in this playthrough, it's been a while since I've played it, and some of the stuff I have forgotten a little bit. But, you know. Oh. I know I heard something after me. There's wolves somewhere. There they are. You know, I'm hearing, like, growling and panting behind me. And I'm like, what is going on here? I'm being hunted while I give my review of the game. Or my justification, more likely. But yeah, I'm very familiar with the game. So, I will tell you, when I played this game first time, I was amazed by a lot of this stuff. I mean, I loved the Companion's questline first time I played through it. Now, you have to remember, you know, that was about 10 years ago, you know? So, it was a different time in gaming. I had different standards. And also, when I first played the game, I think I was like 13. So, you know, as a child, I also had very different standards. So, that's to say that, you know, this was not my initial take on the game. My opinions on Skyrim have evolved a lot over time, and even if you take the age component out of it, You know, I'm 21 right now. I think if I was playing Skyrim for the first time at 21, I still would be more positive than I am at this point. And it's not that I try to be overwhelmingly negative, but it's just, I think when you become very familiar with something, you end up with a lot of critiques. Bandit Thug. I see we've leveled up to that point. Of course, Skyrim sort of scales as you go. And so, as you level up, the bandits will level up alongside you. This is... And I apologize. I feel I'm being a little too negative in this one. But, you know, as long as y'all don't take it personally, you know, it's just me talking about a game that I really do love, but, this is something else that Skyrim does. The leveling alongside you. That I'm really, really not a fan of, I gotta be honest. I very much prefer... I'm trying to look for the words to describe it, but enemies that don't level alongside you. I like that a lot more. For me, it makes the world feel a lot more grounded, a lot more complete. When you can look at a map and see, okay, I can go anywhere I want, but the enemies in this area are way too high leveled, so I'll probably die if I go there. That's far more realistic. Also, you know, the whole phenomenon, and we'll see this as we get to higher levels, and we're already kind of seeing it. Oh my goodness. You got blasted. But when you get to higher levels, like really higher levels, you'll start walking around in Skyrim, and you'll encounter regular bandits who are wearing, like, glass armor and stuff. No, this makes no sense. And for me, it's rather detrimental to my sort of immersion in the world. I prefer a more Fallout way of doing things, or Witcher 3, where, you know, enemies will roughly stay the same. And so, if you encounter an enemy that's really tough at a low level, what that means is that you can level up and come back. And when you come back at a higher level, that enemy should be easier to beat. That just makes sense. Or, say in The Witcher, at a low level, you might have a hard time fighting these bandits that are popping up everywhere. These outlaws. You know, you might be getting your ass whooped. But when you level Geralt up and you have all your gear and your potions and all that kind of stuff, this should be a piece of cake. I mean, you shouldn't be a high-leveled Witcher with all this impressive gear and be getting your ass whooped by regular bandits. That would make no sense. But that is what can happen in Skyrim. You can be extremely high level gear, and you're struggling against, you know, regular, common bandits. It doesn't make any sense. You can think of, say, like, Fallout New Vegas, and, like, the Death Claws. You know, I think if Bethesda... Okay, I can't pick up this bow. Classic Skyrim moment. You know, I think New Vegas was especially sort of harsh with that sort of thing, because that's the world they wanted to design. And I fear that if Bethesda had been in charge of New Vegas, you would have been able to fight through the Death Claws easily enough, because they, you know, would have been easier in comparison to your level. I mean, to be fair, we saw in Fallout 4, one of the first things Bethesda does is give you a suit of power armor, give you a minigun, and basically let you defeat a Deathclaw easily. Compare that to New Vegas, where they say, look, you can go anywhere you want on the map. If you go this direction, there's going to be Deathclaws, and you cannot beat them. And every one of us who said, yeah, okay, whatever, I've never even heard of a Deathclaw, this is going to be easy as pie. Then we went and got our asses kicked and got killed and said, okay, fine, we'll go the other way. That, to me, feels far more grounded, far more real, really enhances my immersion in the world. I definitely like that way of doing things. You know, Skyrim is very much sort of designed around everything levels with you. Everything's working with you, right? And I think that's good in some ways, but for me, I always prefer if there's specific standards set for the world that you have to fit yourself into, because it makes the world feel a little bit more complete. So Skyrim enemies will level with you, so, you know, it won't necessarily become easier or harder depending on level. They'll just level with you. Or, you know, you will get experience from doing things. You know, the world is really working with you. And I've talked about the leveling before. I think it's a particular way of doing things. There's definitely a quest here, but I think we're going to avoid it for now. So we don't get completely sidetracked. Oh, unless the door just opened. No, it didn't. Alright, we can come back here later. And, I mean, you know, I think the leveling in Skyrim was better than, say, the leveling in Oblivion. It was certainly a step up from that, because Oblivion's leveling was terrible. They really botched the execution. I mean, like I've said before, I like RPG systems where you get to choose your class at the beginning of the game, and then you level skills appropriate to that class. For me, that works. Now, I'm a big, like, D&D nerd. I like the sort of traditional RPG elements, and so I like that. I very much enjoy that. I know a lot of people feel differently, precisely because, you know, they grew up playing Skyrim, which I did as well. So that's absolutely fine. I mean, this is all opinions. You know, I'm not necessarily talking objective game theory, because one, I don't know any objective game theory, and two, a lot of this is opinion-based, you know? I want to unlock this, but I think we're gonna get into a fight by doing so.
I'm warning you. Back off.
Alright. I don't mean to be hostile unnecessarily, but I can't avoid a fight. Come on now. Let's fight these guys. You know, I do not deserve to be threatened like this. Equip our Shield of Ysgramor. Put it to the test. We should have increased magic resistance now. There's only 2 of you out here. Well, we'll just kill these 2 and then we'll we'll go on our way. We don't need to clear out the whole fort. Bro, stop running away. But like I said, you know, this is just my opinion, and other people have different opinions. And hey, share them in the comments if you have them. I'd be curious to hear if any of you prefer the Skyrim way of leveling and doing things, and why exactly you feel that way. You know, what advantages you feel it brings. Or, I mean, if you feel the same way as me, feel free to leave your opinion below. Or if you feel something completely different. A mysterious third option. I'd be curious to hear from you guys. I mean, you know, I'm just some guy who's played games for his whole life, and, you know, never touched any sort of game development, know very little about it, and I would never presume to tell a game dev how to do their job. But I do feel like, you know, and there's this whole debate over, well, if you can't do it, then should you criticize someone else for doing it? This comes up with food as well, but I'm gonna be honest, as someone who's played games my whole life, I feel I at least have some experience in what I like in a game, and what I think makes a game more enjoyable for me. I can tell you that much. Same thing with food. Now look, I'm not going to tell a chef how to do their job, but I can tell you what I like. And, you know, if you give me a piece of meat, I can tell you if I think it's overdone, or if it's overdone to my preference. Once again, this is not an objective standard, but by consuming a product enough, I feel you do gain some knowledge of that product and its preparation. It's probably true for a lot of you guys too. You know, you just play games, but if you're as opinionated as I am, after a lifetime of playing games, then you develop some opinions on games. Particularly if you're a fan of RPGs. I mean, let's be honest, this is a sort of niche crowd, and that might sound a little silly because, you know, some of the most popular games, like Skyrim, are RPGs. But, you know, we're talking about a crowd that enjoys, you know, these more, how do I put it, like deep set RPGs. Not just games with RPG elements, but a true RPG, actually focused on the role-playing. That's a lot more niche than something like Skyrim is. And we certainly have a fair amount of opinions. Okay. I wonder who ordered my execution. Didn't say. If you get attacked by hired thugs, it'll say who hired them. I guess not for the assassin. Though I'm talking about RPG gamers, and, you know, my RPG cred is truly not established. I haven't played a lot of the classics. And that's something I'd very much enjoy to do on this channel. And I think we'll do that at some point. I mean, Morrowind's a good example. Like I said, I played a bit of Morrowind, but, you know, to truly be an RPG fan, Morrowind's one of those games that I think I gotta play more of. I gotta play through. I think I'll enjoy doing it. I mean, a lot of those older RPGs, and we're talking about primarily 2000s RPGs, and maybe late 90s as well, sort of late 90s into 2000s, and also Western RPGs. Not to exclude my JRPG fans, but that's primarily what I'm talking about. I've never really gotten into JRPGs, not from any particular dislike, more so a lack of trying. I haven't really had too much experience with the genre. Not saying I wouldn't like it, I very well could, but when I talk about the RPG genre, I'm primarily talking about non-JRPG. Though, of course, you know, JRPGs have made some very important contributions to the genre, sort of worldwide. But they're sort of in a separate category. You know, they're doing their own thing. They have their own norms, their own way of doing things, their own trends. Hello, Stormcloaks.
Help!
Oh my... Dude, all these saber cats. Oh yeah, the snowy saber cats are definitely more dangerous. That one was a piece of cake. You know, they're just here to remind you to join the Stormcloaks. Which, you know, we're already thinking of doing. Every time I see them, I just think, ooh, we should get to that at some point. You can tell me down below if you would rather see the Mages College first or the Stormcloaks first. I'm rather ambivalent to which we do before the other. I mean, it doesn't really make any difference. What I will say is there's a point in the main quest line where you have to deal with Skyrim's Civil War, and we will be resolving the Civil War before we get to that point. You know, I'm not going with the centrist option. Have some bravery, everybody. Choose a side. That's what we're going to do. We're going to choose a side before then. So that means we will not be completing the main quest line before we do the Civil War. We'll have to interject that at some point. Maybe sooner than later, honestly. Though we've still got quite a bit of Skyrim's main quest to do. We really have. We've got a long road ahead of us. So I'm talking about the Civil War. I'm kind of getting ahead of myself, honestly. Hello, little fox. Let's make it to Iverstead.
Oh, you're a traveler. You must have so much to tell about the world outside this boring town.
I mean, nah. Oh, everybody here hates the town. I mean, guys, you are right below the Greybeards. I guess they're sick and tired of pilgrims coming through all the time, but that's a pretty important sight.
7,000 steps again, Clement?
Not today. I'm just not ready to make the climb to High Hrothgar. The path isn't safe.
Uh-oh.
Aren't the Greybeards expecting some supplies?
Honestly, I'm not certain. I've yet to be allowed into the monastery. Perhaps one day.
Well, they're expecting me. We get a little bit of environmental storytelling there, eh? Skyrim, the best to ever do it. What was that? Dark Souls? Hollow Knight? Never heard of them. Oh, man. If y'all can't tell, and frankly you should be able to tell, I do very much enjoy talking about games. Probably just as much as I enjoy playing them, which is probably a personal flaw. But, you know, if we're friends, when I hang out with my friends, I mean, we're just yapping away constantly about many things. Oftentimes history. I mean, most of you probably know I have a couple of history channels out there. So I love to talk about history, but also about video games, you know. We have many things to say. Many games to play, many games we have played, and many opinions on those games. So you could really name any number of video games. And I would probably have many things to say on them. You know, if we're talking about the... You know, I grew up in the 2000s into 2010s. If we're talking about games from, like, the sort of late 2000s into the 2010s, I've played a lot of them. A lot of the popular ones, at least. Basically, PS3, PS4 generation, and then some PS2 generation. That's what I grew up with, you know? Now, ever since I left high school, I have played far less games. And even in high school, honestly, I was playing less games than I was when I was younger. So basically, ever since, I don't know, like 2019, roughly, my consumption of games has been way down. So if you're talking to me about games after 2019, my knowledge is very much decreased. But anywhere from, like, I don't know, 2008, 2009 to like 2018, 2019, I can very much talk about the state of gaming and a lot of the popular games that came out in that era. I mean, you can probably tell part of that if you look at my PS4 collection video. You'll certainly see a lot of the games I've played and my thoughts on them as well, but of course, we're still missing out on, you know, the whole PlayStation 3 console generation, other games, you know, other consoles. There's a lot of other stuff that I didn't cover in that video. But it definitely gives you a taste. I mean, that video alone, I just go through my PS4 collection. I think that video was, you know, more than an hour long, probably closer to like an hour and a half. And, you know, if I really went into depth about every single game I covered, I absolutely could have dragged it out for longer. But for the convenience of the viewer, I did not do that. I thought, you know, I think this is long enough. I won't subject you guys to sitting through a, like, 3-hour ramble about the state of gaming from 2009 to 2019. Those 10 years. Goodness. We'll see. Maybe I'll get back into video gaming again. I mean, it's not like I'm out of gaming. I still play games, just less often. I mean, I'm literally uploading to a gaming channel right now. So I still have a lot of interest in games, and I still play them. It's not like I've retired from the hobby. It's just at a much lower quantity. Plus, you know, I don't have a, I guess we'd call them a current-gen console, the new Xbox or the PS5. I don't have either of those, because they're expensive, and I think still in low quantity. And, at least right now, you know, my only computer is this crappy, years-old laptop that I'm using, which, it can run Morrowind, so, you know, that's why we're doing that, but really, anything even remotely new, it has trouble with. It's quite bad. I'm gonna get a new laptop at some point, though. I've never been much of a PC gamer. Once again, maybe that's a personal flaw. We're gonna have to try and not get killed by this troll. You have any good potions to use? I wonder if this is going to work. Yes, it does. Brilliant. Yeah, you need to pick it up, Flame Atronach. There you go. Nice. Trolls are tricky. You know? Saber cats are probably the most dangerous wild animal. But trolls, I'm not counting them as animal, I'm counting them as beast or monster. I guess monster would be the right way to put it. That would be the distinction in D&D. Trolls are a pretty dangerous sort of wild monster. Or would that be the distinction in D&D? I'm not even sure. Is it beasts and monsters or animals and beasts? I have no idea. But you know what I'm talking about. I'm talking about really existing or close to really existing animals versus something like a troll. Which, as far as I'm concerned, is not currently existing and has never existed. Though I'm open to being proven wrong. I very much am. I will say, I forgot to disenchant that weapon we got in Ysgrimmor's tomb. We didn't boost our smithing, and I forgot to recollect Lydia. So we'll have to do a bit of shopkeeping next time. You know, I think we've got some stuff to sell, some stuff to disenchant, a companion to re-find. One of the things about the Companion's questline in particular is that, you know, a big part of it is about camaraderie with your shield siblings. And so you can't really keep a follower throughout that whole questline because you'll just be rejoining them and leaving them and rejoining them as you take on the different companions as followers instead. Look at that. The throat of the world. Well, not quite, but almost. And that cloudy view as we are up high. Here we go. Little temple here. Yeah, and, you know, there are these little shrines throughout the Pilgrim's Way, the steps, where you can read these tablets. I haven't. We'll read I believe the last one. For years all silent, the Greybeards spoke one name, Tiber Septim. Stripling then, was summoned to Hrothgar. They blessed and named him Dovahkiin. How about that? Sounds similar to what we're doing. Here we go. Hi, Hrothgar, everybody. And, you know, I don't want to blue balls y'all too much, but you know what? We're going to end this one here. I know, I apologize. We really didn't get too much done this episode. It's because the heat of the episode was at the beginning. You know, we finished the Companion's quest line. So this episode will be finishing the Companions and making the trek up to High Hrothgar. Then next episode will truly be continuing the main quest line, you know, fulfilling our position as the new Dovahkiin. I think this episode was a bit of a rambling episode, mainly because we didn't do too much for most of it, and I just talked endlessly, but that's primarily what these videos are, and if you're still watching, then my assumption is that that's kind of what you signed up for. If you haven't, let me know down below, and I'm willing to make alterations, but, you know, some of you have even said that, you know, it's these are relatively long videos, you can put them on in the background, just listen to them, and that is completely fine with me. You know, I think that's basically all my hour-long rambling is good for anyway. So, we have reached the Greybeards. We didn't avenge Kodlak, because that's not what we were going for. We weren't going for vengeance. We were going to save his soul, truly fulfill his dying wish, and that's what we did. He's in Sovngarde, and hopefully him and the other Harbingers can mount an assault mission against the hunting grounds of Hircine, and they can save the other Harbingers, who also apparently would rather not be there. I did not remember him saying that from either playthroughs. We made it up to High Hrothgar. Next time, we'll meet the Greybeards. So, I hope you guys enjoyed this one, or received some sort of satisfaction from it. Like I said, I enjoy doing these as a bit of nostalgia for me. It's also a way for me to sort of talk and just vent about games. That's really what I'm using this for. You know, when we do future playthroughs, like a Morrowind, when I'm being exposed to a lot of the stuff for the first time, or a Disco Elysium, when the story is far more engaging and constant, it'll be far less about my constant rambling and more about my engagement with the game. But a game like Skyrim, that me and a lot of you are so familiar with, I don't really need to engage with the game that much. It's honestly more of a backdrop to my commentary and talking with you guys. So, this playthrough is actually probably a bit different than what our future playthroughs will be like, because I intend to do more RPGs and story-based games that require a lot more sort of constant engagement with the game. Now, that still requires a lot of commentary from me, but my commentary will be more relevant to what's happening on the screen at that moment, which for this playthrough, it is not. So, yeah. But anyway, Jesus, I need to stop talking before I ramble on any longer. I hope you guys enjoyed this one. If you did, please subscribe, like, yada yada, do all that kind of crap. I hope you guys are having a good day today, and I'll see y'all again next time.